There was only one question for Labor MPs arriving at Parliament ahead of today's looming leadership showdown.
Does the Premier have your support?
I think I've never commented on internal party deliberations, but I'm looking forward to caucus today.
Do you support the spill?
No, I don't.
Why not?
Because I think it's ridiculous.
I'm not going to discuss the internal matters.
Is that a real phone call?
The widely tipped contest was between Jacinta Allan and her deputy Ben Carroll, who last night declared he would challenge for the top job in a leadership spill scheduled for 10 a.m.
I will have more to say later, but right now my focus is on talking to my colleagues, and I will have more to say later, but they're my focus.
Half an hour before the caucus meeting, Jacinta Allan called a snap press conference.
After speaking with my colleagues overnight, I have made the difficult decision to step aside as leader of the Victorian State Parliamentary Labor Party and as Premier of Victoria.
It was a reluctant resignation.
I was prepared to put my record and my plan to a ballot of members, as our rules allow. I believe I would have won.
As MPs filed into the party room, it appeared a bruising leadership contest had been avoided. Jacinta Allan has just entered the caucus room to a round of applause. As the only declared candidate, it was meant to be Ben Carroll's coronation. Instead, it descended into chaos. There has been shouting and yelling inside the Labor caucus meeting as they decide on the party's next leadership in Victoria. We're expecting them to announce it any minute now as they come out. There were reports from inside the party room that Jacinta Allan's ally, Attorney General Sonia Kilkenny, declared herself a contender, only to withdraw, clearing the way for Ben Carroll.
Ben Carroll has been unanimously endorsed by the State Parliamentary Labor Party as our next Premier of Victoria. I am also delighted to announce that Gabrielle Williams will be our Deputy Premier.
How are you feeling after the meeting?
Congratulate my colleagues working hard to get a Labor government re-elected. Now, excuse me.
Who's us? We've got to go to Parliament.
Will you call a Royal Commission? Will you call a Royal Commission? Former Victorian Premier Steve Bracks supports the change in leadership.
Politics is interesting, isn't it? Sometimes it seems to go at a glacial pace and nothing happens, and all of a sudden big seismic shifts, and that's what today was about.
In his first press conference, the new Premier made it clear this is a new start for a party that has been in power for almost 12 years.
Let me make one thing very clear. I am not Daniel Andrews. I am not Jacinta Allan.
Ben Carroll said he decided to challenge the Premier after he was approached by MPs who urged him to run, driven by fears Jacinta Allan's poor popularity would lose them November's state election.
Polling says Victoria is on track for Australia's first Liberal One Nation government.
There's no easy way to change a leader, but it's done, and I think it'll be a great benefit to Victoria to have Ben Carroll there as leader of the Labor Party and Premier of Victoria.
Ben Carroll is a former lawyer and political advisor. Since 2012, he's held the suburban Melbourne seat of Niddrie, which takes in Tullamarine Airport. Once a safe Labor seat, it's now considered marginal. 4 months out from an election, Labor will be hoping the new leader will give it a boost in the polls.
It's going to be a hand-to-hand battle in 88 seats across Victoria. The rise of One Nation has made it more difficult to predict what's going to happen.
There was a mixed response from voters in his electorate today. What do you make of the news today? Ben Carroll is now the Premier.
Oh, I think it was coming. I think most people thought it was, due. I mean, Jacinta did a great job, but, needed to clean up a few things with the Royal Commission, which she should have moved on a bit earlier.
What do you know about Ben Carroll?
He's the Education Minister and he's now the Premier of Victoria.
What do you make of that?
I think it's probably a wise move by the Labor Party.
Is Ben the answer?
No.
Who's the answer?
Not the Labor Party.
I think the majority of people wouldn't know Ben, so he's got a job to do. over a very short period of time to make sure he's known in Victoria and known effectively.
What will Jacinta Allan's legacy be?
Well, clearly the enormous infrastructure build around Victoria. You know, these are great legacies for the future, transformational pieces of infrastructure which will stand Victoria in good stead for a long period of time.
Jacinta Allan had been under pressure about what she knew about allegations of corruption and criminal activity on CFMEU big build sites when she was Minister for Infrastructure. Should Jacinta Allan have called a royal commission into corruption on big build projects?
Yes, probably the Premier could have called a royal commission. She didn't. That's history now.
Do you think her refusal led to her undoing?
I don't think any one issue led to her undoing. I mean, the party made a calculation that she wasn't going to get us there for another term.
Today, the new Premier announced a royal commission would go ahead.
My first action as Premier will be to call a royal commission into the construction sector. We will also immediately establish a special prosecutor that will work in parallel with the Royal Commission. And we will strengthen IBAC, giving them the follow the money powers now.
As Jacinta Allan signed off, she was keen to talk up her achievements. But she now faces the prospect of fronting a Royal Commission.
I will leave knowing I made a difference, fighting for working families, making life easier, safer, more affordable, as one part of a proud Labor team. Thank you and goodbye.
Will you cooperate with the Royal Commission?
Former federal opposition leader and former head of the AWU, Bill Shorten, has been a major figure in Victorian Labor politics for decades. He joins me now from Canberra. Bill Shorten, welcome.
Good evening.
It's a poor start for a new leader, isn't it, that Ben Carroll couldn't manage the transition more smoothly?
I think these things are always incredibly difficult, and to be honest, he started this morning in one job, and by the evening he's the Premier of Victoria, so congratulations to him and also to his wife Fiona. I almost feel that the media is a bit disappointed it didn't drag on longer. I mean, it's happened now.
That's a little harsh. Let's go to one of the things that he said. He said, "I'm not Jacinta Allan, I'm not Daniel Andrews." Why did he need to make the case so bluntly about who he isn't?
I think in his case, part of the reason why the change had to happen, or a big part, is that Victorians are off both the major parties, but in particular, the ghost of Dan Andrews politically looms pretty large, and Jacinta had a chance to be seen to be quite different to him. And whilst, you know, she did a good job, and I'm sure she's hurting a lot tonight and the people who care for her, the reality is that Victorians do want to change from that era, and Ben, I think, represents that, but he knows he's got to distinguish himself. In many ways, Ben's running against people who are not even on the ballot paper. On one hand, Dan Andrews, who some Victorians now feel very strongly about, and also Pauline Hanson, who's also not on the ballot paper. So Ben needs to really distinguish himself and what he stands for.
How does he do that? How does he differentiate himself, both from the past and from what One Nation is offering to voters, particularly in the outer suburban seats?
I've got to know Ben very well while I served in Parliament. His state seat's entirely within the federal seat of Maribyrnong, so we worked together for the best part of 13 years. He's already started to do that by making integrity a key issue. I think by calling the Royal Commission, that's a pretty big break with the past, because his predecessors wouldn't do that. I think beyond that, listen, someone's got to say it, but suburban rail link seems a very expensive investment, and I think a lot of people have got reservations about it. So I think running the ruler over that, I think will be pretty urgent. I mean, he'll work it out. He's got a very tough bunch of advisors behind him. The caucus is united now. They'll work it out. But beyond suburban rail link, I think it'd be great to see recognition of the teachers' issues resolved. I think also what he needs to do, and I guess it's easy now, I'm a professor at a university and give the free advice, but what he needs to do is surround himself with strong people. He needs people who can disagree with him. when you become a leader in these positions, it's very easy to get into a position where everyone, because their jobs depend on it, agree with you. So I think he needs to have tough, strong advisors around him who can say to him when they disagree.
We've seen some bumps in polls in these last-ditch effort changes. It happened in Queensland when Anastasia Palaszczuk was removed. It obviously happened with your help to Kevin Rudd. In both those cases, they managed to hold on to a few more seats than anticipated. How many seats do you think that Ben Carroll can now save for Labor?
Well, it remains to be seen if he can differentiate himself in time and if people buy the change. But I think at the moment, as much as people don't want to hear this in Labor, I think they were facing extinction level results worse than 1992 when Jeff Kennett wiped out Labor then. And I think the results could have been worse than that. So I understand why people acted. I understand at a distance. Having said that, I think he can move them from the low 20s to at least into the mid 30s. But I know Ben, he's a fighter. He's doing this to make sure that he can try and win and make Labor competitive. So I think he will give them a bump. Changes sometimes work, sometimes they don't. But I can think of plenty of examples where they have worked.
It's quite a big issue you raise about the infrastructure project. You're suggesting, are you, that he should pause it, finish the section that they're on? This is also a project that the federal government has put hundreds of millions of dollars into. It's a very difficult thing to do, to stop it now.
Yeah, there's 8 million Victorians. They've all got an opinion, and they're all all those who are 18 and over will get to vote in November and show their opinion. Suburban rail link is it's a marvellous idea, but I'll be straight. I think that if you're having trouble paying for that and for hospitals and for schools and getting your debt down, I know the priority's got to be the immediate over the nice things to have. And when I look at Ben's opening speech today, he went to a chord which I think will resonate with voters. Government money is actually the people's money entrusted to the government to spend wisely. Ben gets that. He grew up in Airport West. He worked at Kmart for 8 years. Some people have called him the Kmart Keating. He's a moderate. You've got to be interested in the economy, and you've got to pay for the ideas you want, and you can't afford to waste money. And I thought Ben's speech was pretty straight down the barrel, saying it's your money and I understand the importance of it.
There wasn't much reference to the union movement, aside from obviously the huge issue of the CFMEU and corruption. Did that surprise you in his speech?
I think Ben is starting as he intends to continue. He wants to be honest, he wants to act with integrity, and he wants to act in everyone's interest. I think politics is at a bit of a crossroads, just like institutions like universities and all the big institutions. People want to know whose side you're on. Are you for the people or for the elites? Are you on the side of people without power? One of the few things that people have left in Australia is not just their ability to complain on social media, but they get a vote every now and again. And I think Ben understands people will be assessing, is he serving the people or is he just playing politics? So I thought he was very straight. He's in there for Victorians, not trying to just tick the box and get particular interest groups on side.
Why do you think Jacinta Allan refused to budge on calling a Royal Commission into the construction industry and the role of the CFMEU? Why did she refuse?
I don't know. Listen, there is an argument which says that Royal Commissions just become picnics for lawyers.
Is that your view right now about a potential Royal Commission?
I think what Ben did was timely. I think the national mood or the state mood was there for it. I just think that the costs of construction, I think there may have been exaggerations, but there is something rotten going on in construction, and people want to see it to be dealt with. This is public infrastructure, so it's taxpayer money. So I think there's been too much. In this case, there's been enough smoke to say there is fire. In the past, though, Royal Commissions into unions haven't necessarily gone where people expected, and sometimes they've been witch hunts. But I think Ben has demonstrated from the outset he intends to govern differently. The only way this can work 4 months out from an election is if Ben Carroll convinces people that he's the real deal. Now, people don't have to take my word for it, but I did serve in the same area as him for 13 years before I went to university, and he's now the Premier.
Let me
He's got integrity.
Let me just finish up with a very simple question. Is Ben Carroll going to go ahead with a statue for Dan Andrews?
Oh, good question. I'll let that for Ben and his advisors to work out. But I think one thing's for sure, he will be different to Dan Andrews, and I'm not going to be negative about everyone in the past, but I think Victoria is ready for something different from Dan Andrews. And I guess the question I would ask myself is, how will the Coalition and One Nation be reacting tonight? And whilst they might say it's all blah, 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 I think that facing Ben Carroll's a different proposition to facing Jacinta Allan for the Coalition.
Bill Shorten, thanks very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.